Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Empower Her podcast. I'm your host, Deanna DeBolt, and I have a very special guest on the podcast with me today. My guest today is an accomplished stylist, image consultant, and the powerhouse behind some of the most influential personal brands in corporate and creative spaces. With years of experience styling high-profile professionals and public figures, she curates presence, polish, and undeniable power. From building signature wardrobes to leading corporate trainings, her work blends fashion with strategy, helping leaders show up like bosses before they even speak. Welcome, Brandi Nicki, to the podcast.
Hello, hello, Deanna. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for
I,
that intro.
well, that's all you, so I can't take credit for that.
Right, give God all the credit.
I'm super excited to have you on. I was telling you kind of off air that I'm really excited to talk to you. You and I have connected previously. That's obviously why I reached out to you to be on the podcast. And I just love what you do and what you stand for. And I think, on my podcast where I talk about women's empowerment, I think that talking about fashion and style and everything beyond that is extremely important and really part of empowering women. So
Mhm.
I'm so excited that we get to have this conversation today.
Yes, I'm excited as well.
Awesome. Before we start, something that I love to do with everyone that I have on, because I'm like a big astrology person, is I love to ask people like what their astrology is, like their big three. So their sun, rising, and their moon sign. So would you mind sharing with us what those are so we can kind of get to know you better?
Yeah, so I'm a Leo. Okay, my birthday is August 5th, the day
Hmm.
after Obama's. I always say that.
Oh, that's a
Hold
flex.
a little weight. My moon is in Sagittarius and
Oh.
I have a Virgo rising.
You know, it's so funny because right before we started, like before we got on the podcast, I was thinking, I was like, I wonder what her big three is. And I was like, she
Yeah.
has to have Virgo in there because,
Really?
yes, because Virgos are very specific. And so being like a stylist and working with
Ah,
fashion, you have that eye for like specificity and
yeah.
specifics and style. So I like that makes so much sense to me. And then so does the Leo because Leo obviously loves interesting things. They love to be
Yeah.
bold. I'm a Leo rising and a Sag moon, so we actually have a lot
Oh
of
my God,
similarities.
oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have some similarities. I have an Aries sun though, so I have like a lot of
Okay.
fire energy, but you do
Yes,
too.
you do.
So it's
You have all the fire.
I do have all the fire. And I have a Venus in Aries too, so it's just like a lot of fire.
Oh wow, all the fire.
Yeah. Yeah. But how do you think that shows up for you? I don't know how much you're into astrology, but how do you feel like that shows up for you kind of in your work and your everyday?
For me, I don't know like moon, right? I know the moon is in Sagittarius. I know Sagittarius, they don't like to be kind of tied down or they like to be free. And then Virgos, like you said, perfectionist, like Beyonce, she's a Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main way that it shows up in my lifestyle or in my career, the clients I serve, is really my sun sign in Leo. I'm all about being bold. I'm all about being daring. I'm all about, being commanding that attention that you deserve. And I think Leos, we command the room just with our presence. We're a light. And so I enjoy shining my light onto my clients. And so I make sure that their light is shined upon with whatever space they enter, with whatever clients that they work with, and that it starts with what they put on. So,
It's almost like you kind of take your sunshine because like Leo is like the sun, right? That's it rules. That's
yeah,
the what it rules. It's like you almost kind of put that on others like in a good way, like help
yeah,
them shine and bring the shine out of
exactly.
themselves.
Exactly.
I love that. When did you realize that you were into fashion styling, that clothes meant something more to you than just putting something on?
So I honestly first became into it or figured out that it meant a lot to me as a really young child. So I was maybe about 4 years old when I put my first outfit together by myself.
Wow.
And it's crazy because I remember the outfit.
Do you? What you have to tell us what it was.
It did not match, okay, but I thought I was fly. So it was a like purple, like lavender plaid skirt with like a little bit of silver in it in the plaid. It was an orange tank top, crew neck tank top with like a blue stripe in the middle. and like a white stripe in the very middle. So it's kind of like orange, blue, white, but just one stripe. No shoes though. I just came out, just came out. I thought I was doing something, and I walked out with all this sass, and my family, because I'm the youngest, I'm the baby.
Mm.
So they all looked at me like, "Who put your clothes on today? Like who, who told you to wear that?" But I just remember feeling so confident and so independent, especially as a young child. It means a lot to be independent and do things yourself. But it was a moment of just power and independence for me because I had did it myself. It didn't matter what anybody thought because I thought I looked damn good, okay? And you could not tell me anything. And I carry that even still till this day. It began to snowball really as I began to go throughout college. So I went to UC Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara is known for Halloween, right? So we
I've
would,
been there. I've
yeah,
been there for some parties. I know.
yeah, yeah. So, and the thing is, though, I picked the school not knowing it was a party school. A lot of people don't believe that, but I really just was like, I want to go to a UC. I
Well,
didn't
it's a
know
good school though. It is
it is.
though.
It is. Yeah. And so their Halloween festivities is a big deal. You don't just have one costume, you have three every single year. So with that, me being a broke college student, who's going to spend $100 per costume when I only at that time was making like $11 an hour? No. So I had to be creative and I had to pick costumes that went with my wardrobe, really. And so it just snowballed into, oh wow, I actually have a gift. Like I actually can put together really nice costumes and I can still swag them outside of Halloween. And I do bring that swag to the corporate office. And so it was really as I graduated college, entered corporate America, that the corporate people that I worked with pointed out that gift.
I
They then
love that.
became my first clients.
Right. That makes total sense,
Yeah.
honestly, because usually those are the people that need the most help. Because,
Yeah.
I worked in corporate too. When I first started in corporate, I was wearing jeans, Converse, and a t shirt every day. It was not the vibe. I literally didn't know what to wear.
I'm
I
about to
hadn't
pull out my belt.
I had no clue what to wear. I had no personal style. I had moved from the States to Europe. And so it was, anyways, like a different culture and the way people dressed. And I was so
Yeah.
used to, like, I grew up in Southern California. People were really chill and relaxed and,
Right.
like,
I agree.
just wear whatever. And then in Europe, it's like people dress up. So it took me about a year and a half before I started to actually find my style. I mean,
Yeah.
I think back on the way I dressed, like it was crazy. But obviously, styling is one thing, but when did you realize at that point that when you started styling, you were actually helping people shift their identities? Because I think that's what people don't talk a lot about when it comes to people think like, oh, you're just styling outfits. It's like,
Mhm.
it's surface level, but it's actually not. It's
It's
very deep. And so
it's
when
not.
did you realize that it was more than that and you were really shifting people's identities?
Yes. So shortly after college, I had my first corporate job, right? And the women in my workplace would literally bring their clothes to me and say, "Hey, Brandy, how do I wear this?" And I would tell them. I had no styling business. I had no idea that you could get paid to shop for people. And so, like I said, my first coworker became my first client.
Hmm.
And I started to style her, putting together wardrobe for her. She was over 60 years old. She was a senior manager in that department, but she didn't really show up as a senior manager in that department, right? And during the fittings, you're putting together, I put together all of these fly outfits. And I started to realize that I could put together the most fly outfit, but it's not going to look right if this woman does not have confidence.
Mm.
It doesn't matter what I put her in. It doesn't matter what designer label or how much it costs. If she does not think she looks good, she will not look good. And that's just what it is. And so for that reason, I actually frayed away from personal styling in the very beginning because I didn't want the emotional labor that comes with it.
Mm.
I just want them to wear what I say to wear.
Right.
But you can't do that as a personal stylist because you have to dig deeper and you have to pinpoint, okay, what is their lifestyle like? Okay, where is the confidence teetering and wavering? Where is it that place that there's, gaps or loopholes? within themselves that's showing up within their style, because it's never really just she doesn't know how to put an outfit together. Yes, some people are more artistic than others, of course. Some people just have it and they're creative and they have good taste, and yeah, absolutely. But it really is starting with, what do you think about yourself? What do you believe yourself to be? Who are you? What statement do you want to make? All of those things go into it. And the consultations that come out, the fitting is a confessional. Some people think, oh my God, you have the fittings. It's style therapy, honestly.
Yeah.
What you want to call it. Because the most confident people that may show up, and maybe they're on stage and maybe they're Broadway, maybe they're in musicals, it all comes out in the fittings. So that's why I call my fittings a safe space.
Mm.
And I set rules during my fittings. And those rules are, we will only say positive things about ourselves from the moment you enter to the moment you leave. I don't want to hear my arms are too fat. I don't want to hear my stomach this. No, 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 no. We are speaking positively over ourselves in this fitting room. And so as I've grown and matured emotionally, professionally, and obviously personally, I realized that maybe I just am called to be that light upon other people's lives and pour into them this way and help them navigate their identity.
That's it's interesting you say that, because I was going to say that, when you're styling someone or working with someone, it can be a very vulnerable space
Yes.
for women, especially we've been taught
Yes.
to hate our bodies, to
Yes.
hate how we look, to question
The
everything.
standards.
That's a very vulnerable state to
Very.
be in, and trust somebody to help you basically put clothes on a body that you may not feel confident in.
Exactly. And you were literally getting undressed. Like
In every
physically
way. Yeah,
and like figuratively, you're getting undressed, so it takes a
100%.
special being, yeah, to for you to feel safe with like that.
Totally. And something I know you say is that style is a brand statement. So, what are some silent signals that women are sending with their outfits that they may not even realize? Maybe let's talk specifically in the workplace first.
Mhm. So the biggest signal that I believe women don't, and men too, but for the focus of the convo, really a lot of women don't realize the power that their wardrobe holds. They don't realize that you are literally putting on who you are. You are sending that first impression just with your wardrobe. And, some people will say, oh, well, I don't, judge people. I don't judge a book by its cover, right? But statistically speaking, the numbers are out there. On top of that, everybody is making up a story about you within in their head. And if they have not made up the story yet, they're going to want to meet you and get to know you so they can finish the story. So either the story is already written in their head when they see you, or they're still writing it about you, which is why they're saying, huh, she looks interesting. Let me go talk to her. I like her shoes. Oh, I wonder what she does for a living. Let me go talk to her, because they're still trying to put the pieces together about your story. But what hooked them in is your appearance. And so in the workplace, it goes from literally dressing head to toe as a not just a stylish person, but somebody who just looks put together and looks like they intentionally put their wardrobe together and their outfit together, from the nails being done, from them putting a little bit of effort, not makeup, I'm not a big makeup girl, but just like you didn't just roll out of bed, to maybe your tennis shoes, are they clean if you're going to wear them to the workplace? Those little details that you put into your wardrobe, people pay attention to, and you can show up looking like the boss even if you technically are not the boss. You're still manifesting that boss energy, and that boss role will find you because that's how you're showing up every day. But if you're doing the opposite, you may be finding yourself stuck in a role that maybe is unfulfilling, maybe you're overqualified for. It all goes together. It's more than just putting on clothes.
Totally. And it's so interesting you say that, because as I had mentioned earlier, when I started in corporate, I didn't have a personal style. Like, I was
Mm.
wearing, jeans and a t-shirt, and I realized I wanted to move up the ladder and I wanted to become a leader. And so after about a year, when I told my boss, like, hey, these are my plans, I started dressing that way. Hair and makeup were perfect. I was wearing dresses, skirts, heels, all the things.
Yes.
Not that you have to wear that, but that's what felt
Right.
good to me.
That
And
was
I
yours.
felt so powerful. And I ended up being in corporate for almost 7 years, got 4 or 5 promotions, was going up and up and up.
Come
And
on now, Deanna.
people looked at me like I was a quote unquote boss because that's how
Yes,
I showed up.
showed
People
up.
paid respect to me because I
Exactly.
started dressing differently.
Exactly. And you know what? You set the expectation. They knew that when Deanna walked in that door, oh, she gonna come with it. She gonna come
Yeah.
head to toe, put together. Oh, okay. She's intentional. She pays attention to details. How does that translate into her work? How does that
Yeah.
translate into how she runs a team?
Yeah.
So it snowballed for you in the most positive way. And like you said, it was a manifestation.
It totally was. Like looking back on it, I started getting into manifestation in 2020. This was before
Mhm.
then. And I didn't realize, but I was manifesting my
Yes, you were.
job that I wanted. That's really what
Yes,
I was doing. I was
absolutely.
already showing up as the version of
As a person,
myself
not
before I
waiting.
became her.
Not waiting for that
Exactly.
opportunity, not waiting for you're creating it.
Exactly. In terms of like maybe different like tips and tricks or things that, because we can think we're dressing well or we can say we look polished, especially if we're talking about the workplace. But what
Yeah.
are things that maybe you see that especially women are maybe getting wrong with their outfits or just getting wrong with the way that they're dressing, even if it seems like perfect on paper?
I think a lot of women and entrepreneurs are missing the fact that their wardrobe is an extension of their brand.
Mm,
And they think that the marketing, the branding, the promoting, right? That's online, that's maybe their website, maybe it's in the brand photo shoot, but you have to keep that brand consistency when you show up. They are expecting the same power that they saw you online with. When they meet you in person, you got to come through with it. And a lot of them, those entrepreneurs, will just have so much faith in their products, which are doing great. You know what I mean? They're making six figures, they're making seven figures, etc. Or they're a great manager or team leader. But if you're going to those conferences, or if you're showing up in Zoom meetings, or that in any in-person contact, a lot of people forget that that is still part of their branding, and that branding did not stop at the photo shoot. It didn't
right.
stop at your online picture that you put up on your website. It's a continuation. It needs to come with the same amount of power, the same amount of energy, and the same amount of potency, because it's all part of your marketing. And so once they realize that, they also realize the goodness and the opportunities that come with it.
Totally. Do you find that because you obviously work with, a lot of high level professionals, do you find that when they do find their style and they start having that confidence that it actually impacts their business in a positive way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There has been clients that I've worked with who maybe just starting out their business,
Mm,
and part of them getting themselves together was them hiring a stylist to do their wardrobe. And as I continued to develop her wardrobe, we saw that her income in her business continued to increase and increase and increase. Now, it's not a direct, okay, she had on a Louis Vuitton belt, whoop, boop, she made 100K next month.
right.
That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is just like get up and brush your teeth every day, and you pray every day, and you meditate every day, and maybe you work out every day. At the end of the few months, you'll see the overall accumulation of your work that you have put in over the past few months. Styling goes into that. Your personal style goes into that part of the routine. It's taking care of yourself. She began to invest in herself. She began to take care of herself. And one of those ways of her investments was her personal style. It became so concrete that she knew who she was. And that's the key to you having success. You know exactly who you are. And she dressed like she knew exactly who she was. And she showed up in those spaces where her clients like she knew exactly who she was. And because she knew who she was and her style was on point and everything was in alignment, it then began to attract more clients and allowed her to continue to scale her business.
Totally. And in terms of like when you're seeing these shifts happen in people that you work with, like what's one of the first things that shifts with them internally when they start dressing and believing in themselves?
I would say the first shift is the validation. Because a lot of women, especially the clients that I serve virtually, a lot of them sign up for the virtual services, whether you want to continue to have access to me and text me photos or questions on what to wear. They're really seeking the validation. And so a lot of people think, as a stylist, your goal is to continue to have the client and they continue to come back. Yes, I want you to continue to come back to me so long as you need a new wardrobe and you don't have the time to find it. But my ultimate goal, Deanna, is to have my clients not need me anymore. Honestly,
Totally.
I want you to be so confident that you are that girl. You're not asking a stylist, "Hey, should I wear with the, the shoes with the whatever, or what do you think of this?" No, I want you to go to that store, you pick out this dress and you say yes, because you now understand your body type, because you now understand what shapes and of clothing matches, your body type and what's good for you, the occasion, what colors look well with your skin tone. I want women to feel validated within themselves. And I usually see that as the first shift when they get dressed on their own, or they just send me the picture and they're not asking, "Hey, what do you think?" They're just like, "Now look at this." You know what I mean? Like, "Ta-da, look what I did." That's usually the first and the best shift that I see that is the most rewarding, because I feel like I did my job.
Totally. I love that. And I think too, what I find and what I hear from women a lot of times in the workplace is it's hard to kind of find your personal style, or they feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable experimenting because a lot of us work in either male dominated fields, or we've been told that we're
Yeah.
quote unquote supposed to dress a certain way. There's a lot of these, like what we would call style myths, especially for women and especially for women of color in professional
Yes.
spaces. So
Very.
what do you talk to your clients about, or what do you tell them in terms of myths that we can break free from so that they can better express themselves through their style in the workplace?
Yeah. So I think the biggest myth, which I will stand on a hill forever and shout, is that you cannot wear the same thing twice.
Mm.
You cannot wear the same outfit. I don't know who thought of that, but clothes are
Some
meant,
rich person who had a lot.
right? But even still, clothes are meant to be
Yeah,
worn. Like, if
totally.
somebody is getting on your head that you wore it again, number one, why are you looking at me so hard? You got a notebook for a reason. Obviously, I'm doing it right. If
Yeah,
you can remember the last time I wore it. Number two, you must not like your wardrobe if you are not wearing it again and again, because I'm gonna keep mixing and dicing and hitting and restyling a lot of things because I enjoy the wardrobe. And you don't need a lot of clothes to have a personal style. A lot of people think I have a lot of clothes, which I kind of do, I'm not going to lie. But still, besides that, it'll be a lot of things in rotation, a lot of the same things in rotation. It's just because I understand how to mix it up, it'll look like I have a lot of clothes, and really I've probably just been wearing the same 20 items and just rotating them in different ways, and you're like, wow. So I think that's myth number one, especially in the workplace. Myth number two is color in the workplace. A lot of us, I don't know who thought of what, but we can't wear anything other than blues and blacks and grays, and that is completely far from the truth. Now I will say, don't get me wrong, neon yellow or neon pink. To me, I don't like neon yellow. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But if you feel fly in that neon, hey, more power to you. Now I wouldn't wear neon pants. I'm not gonna I'm not
yeah.
gonna lie. I didn't tell Brandi Nicki did not tell you to did not tell you to put some neon pants in the workplace. But you can introduce more color into the workplace with your wardrobe. And it's not going to make you look unprofessional, right? Because that's what a lot of us women will think. We can't wear this pink or we can't wear this yellow, because they don't want it to clash with their status in the workplace. And there's a way to do everything. There's a way to go about things. You can use it as maybe an accent color. Maybe
Yeah.
you do wear the black and white, but your earrings are pink, or your shoes are that hot pink. So it's a way to go about it and be creative and still make yourself pop and still express yourself while remaining professional.
And I think this goes back to the individual too, because for example, I like color, but I don't like it as like the main point of what I'm wearing
Right.
necessarily. I
Right.
personally prefer more neutral and then like accent colors versus someone
Right.
else might prefer more bold colors. So I think it also comes down to, I would imagine you talk to this with your clients about like what they feel good in, what feels, comfortable
Exactly.
for them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the biggest question. That's actually one of the first questions that I do ask.
Yeah. What are some other questions just while we're on the topic that you tend to ask your clients? I think it would be helpful for to get people to start thinking about things they can even ask themselves, because I don't even think we think about these things of like what can we actually ask ourselves when we're getting dressed in the morning or buying clothes.
Well, especially before you go shopping, okay? The number one question you need to ask is, what statement do I want to make when I walk into the room, right? That is the biggest thing. Because that sets the tone and the mood before you start buying things. The second question is, who are you, or who am I?
Mm.
And that goes along with the statement. If you know that you are, maybe a girl who's a big boss, but you just love being comfortable. That's who you are. You're a comfortable girl. Okay, so we're gonna shop according to that. Third, what are your favorite parts of your body and what are your least favorite parts of your body? That is a big one that people don't consider when they are putting their clothes together or shopping for new clothes or just buying things, but you're not building a wardrobe to flaunt the parts of your body that you love. A lot of women, when I ask that question as I'm styling them, and I say, what's the least favorite part? They're like, firing off. And
Yeah.
then they ask, well, what's your favorite part? Crickets. So I have to tap into that, because why is it so easy for you to say the least favorite part, but you have to sit and really think? And a lot of women will say, I have never thought about that before,
Wow.
And it is a little bit, disheartening,
Yeah.
honestly. That should be your focus really as you get dressed. If you know you love your legs, despite, okay, maybe your midsection you're not as confident, or your arms are not as confident, but you got some nice toes, or you love your legs, or your eyes are so pretty. I don't know. You know what I mean? Whatever it is for you, you need to build a wardrobe around that.
Mm.
Focus on that. And that's what the Bible says. Focus on the things that are of good report, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely. In Philippians, you have to literally focus on those things and build a wardrobe that complements that. So those are the top three questions that I do ask everyone when I am styling them. And then the fourth one is their lifestyle. So that's a big part of it too. Um, Lifestyle is always important because obviously, what are you doing throughout the day? And fifth, the non-negotiables. So everyone should have a non-negotiable. It's kind of like dating. What are your deal breakers? It's important. You need to shop with logic. It's not just an emotional, oh my God, it's so cute. No, we have to shop with logic. We have to date with logic. Okay, so the logical piece is, what are your non-negotiables? My non-negotiable, no matter what I buy or where I'm going, is quality.
Mm.
Everything I wear has to be of quality. Even if I'm going to the airport, even if I am just lounging comfortably at, maybe my friend's house, I want everything in my wardrobe to look like it's a quality piece. And like I said, some women, a lot of women, it's comfort. They have to be comfortable. And so we build a wardrobe around that. How can I create a comfortable wardrobe that is professional? And that's where I come in, and I build around that.
That's a really good tip, because I used to be a shopaholic, we could say. I had a massive amount of clothes, and I would buy just like everything, shoes, clothes, all the
Yeah.
things, but I wouldn't wear half of it. And a lot of times I would put things on and I'm like, well, I don't feel comfortable, or I'm bloated today, or whatever. And I
Yeah.
realized I had so many clothes in my closet that didn't actually fit my day to day that I could reach to. And now I've sort
Mhm.
of, it's completely changed. Now, pretty much anything in my closet I could put on at any time and feel good and confident in. And now when I go shop, I don't need any clothes, but if I buy something, I try
Mhm.
to buy something in my color season palette,
Mhm.
because I've
Mhm.
realized, I don't know if you deal with color seasons, but I'm a summer, and so that's like the pink I'm wearing now, like sort of those like brighter colors, not too bright, but sort of pinks, blues. So I'm trying to have more color because my whole closet is like black and white and gray basically.
Yeah.
So like I'm using that intention, like you said, of going
Yeah.
and shopping and saying, I'm only going to buy things that are in that color palette because that's what
Yes.
I want to start wearing. And that's how I want to be seen out in the world.
Yes, you have to set the intention. And a lot of people aren't doing that and they're wondering, well, why don't I have style? And why do I have, I can never get dressed for an event. I always have to go shopping every time I get invited somewhere. And you're not really being intentional when you go shopping. You're not really sure who you are and the statement you want to make. You haven't thought of any non negotiables. You buy things on impulse. You're an emotional shopper instead of a logical shopper. You're watching other people online with things and they don't have your body type, but you're buying them thinking it looks good on you because it looked good on them. And it becomes a layered effect of things that will just lead anybody to disappointment.
And just on that, it reminded me, especially in the day of social media, I think it can be
Mhm.
really hard because you're on social media and you're seeing all these people dressing a certain way, having a certain style, but you can't
Mhm.
necessarily emulate that because you don't look like that. So something I did is I started purposely following fashion creators or people that show their style who have the same body type as me because
Yes.
I am mid-sized, I'm not a
Yes.
skinny girl, I'm not super tall, whatever. And that
Yes.
way I can see what those clothes look like on similar
Yes.
body types so that I know what is going to look good on me as well.
Very true. Yep. Very, very true.
Something I was thinking of when you were speaking about sort of the corporate aspect and like helping women in confidence is,
Mhm.
do you think that a lot of times women won't find a personal style or don't want to dress in a certain way because they don't want to be seen?
Absolutely. A lot of women, oh, I shouldn't say a lot, but there have been a few who hide in their clothes um,
Mm.
that I've worked with. They are using their wardrobe to hide who they are. And it becomes a trigger when I do hear that maybe their whole wardrobe is black. The next question, it was during a consultation. She was telling me about her lifestyle, telling me who she is. Okay, she's a mom, she's a leader in corporate, she mainly has a black wardrobe. Do you know the next question I asked her, which is, not in my typical list, but I said, when was the last time you did something nice for yourself?
Mm.
And she paused and she said, oh my God, she said, what made you ask me that question?
Mm.
And I could hear through the consultation, this woman is used to putting herself last and is showing up in her wardrobe because she's not really paying attention to herself, especially as a mother. You
Mm.
have children, you're ingrained, it's embedded in you that you put others before you. So, and that is disheartening to hear that because, like I said, your style is just the domino effect of something much deeper that's going on behind the scenes. And so she would, maybe wear clothes that don't even fit her that well. Just because of the fact that she was hiding certain parts of her body that she didn't want to show, but she didn't understand how to dress her body type, and that there are clothes out there made for you that are flattering to your body type. Even if your midsection is what is most concerning, you can wear certain items, like maybe they will drape or tie in the front. Maybe, they will hang in a certain way, or we can put a belt around. Just different ways to play with it and your body type. But I will see that more often than I would like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, especially with women and their confidence and how we've been told we're supposed to show up, and in our patriarchal society, it's very damaging for women and their
Mhm.
confidence, and it affects their style and how they feel. I mean, I know it's affected me too. I've wanted to hide
Absolutely.
behind my clothes as well when
Absolutely.
my weight has fluctuated or I didn't feel like myself. I would wear super baggy clothes. I didn't want to
Mhm.
show myself. So I can understand when, women feel that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you put on how you feel. Just like how you've already felt like you were that boss. That's what you was putting on because you felt like the boss anyway. So I'm gonna put it on today. I'm not gonna wait until I have something on paper. With her, she just didn't feel well. So
Yeah.
you dress what you look like and feel like.
Totally. And I think, another misconception is if you dress well or you're well styled in the workplace, that it's not professional. So, how do you help women stand out with their style in
Mhm.
workplaces without compromising the professionalism?
One of the things I love to do is play with textures and fabrics.
Hmm.
So, forget the typical, cotton or nylon blend or, maybe leather shoe. I love to add in a velvet blazer here and there. I love to add in a silk undershirt here and there. I'm maybe, if you really are feeling yourself, fur toe heel. If it's pointed toe, it can still be deemed as professional. Pointed toe as in like closed toe, because technically open toe is not really professional. But when it comes to items such as that, I love to play with different textures and play with different fabrics. But play with different textures and fabrics in the traditional pieces of corporate. It's still going to be a blazer, but it's just not your typical material that a blazer. It's still going to be, a pointed toe heel, but it's not going to be the typical pointed toe. Maybe there's going to be studs on them. I have a pointed toe heel that is studded. I get a lot of compliments. It's loafers. Maybe those are studded as well. So playing with different textures and fabrics and designs is the way that I love to keep professionalism, but also make that statement and stand out and be stylish.
I love that. And do you believe in like having a capsule wardrobe, or kind of like what's your take on, if you're styling for someone and they want to get a certain set of pieces, obviously they can't get like 100 pieces. Like how do you approach kind of them creating either a wardrobe, capsule wardrobe, whatever you want to call it, that actually works for them?
Absolutely. Capsule wardrobes are really important because, I will continue to say this. You don't need a lot of clothes to be stylish. A lot of people, and that's why I tie it to money. You don't need to be a millionaire or a billionaire to be stylish. In fact, a lot of the fashionistas that we know today, or fashion icons, came from nothing, or
Yeah.
came from a lower impoverished area. And so a capsule wardrobe is really important because you are able to quickly but efficiently develop your personal style. And the way that I go about it is I usually take kind of it's really the basics and the foundation. So you're going to have your jeans, usually at least one or two pairs, light and dark. You're going to have, your shorts or a skirt, depending on the type of girl that you are. You're going to have, your dresses. But, the t-shirt piece or the blouse piece is what you are able to mix and match. And then depending upon your lifestyle, you'll have the heels and the boots, etc., and the tennis shoe. So really with capsule wardrobe, it's about the color scheme and the season, of course. If you want a fall capsule wardrobe, obviously that's going to look much different than, a summer capsule wardrobe. But I say that to say my focus when building that is the color scheme and the design of the garment, whether it's long sleeve, whether it's short sleeve, etc. I think that piece, when you're able to mix and match, it creates ease when you are getting dressed, because you have less choices and because you know that these items go together. And then I'll add in maybe a little bit of a statement piece in the capsule that you can just throw on top of this foundation that we built. I'll add on maybe, okay, a blazer that pops, or a shoe that pops, or a purse that makes a statement, because you're able to interchange it.
I love that. And I have, as a coach, I work with a lot of neurodivergent individuals. So
Mhm.
women with ADHD or autism. And a lot of times for them, they have, executive dysfunction, or they have trouble making decisions, or they feel overwhelmed if they have to, put on clothes every day and try to be stylish. So,
Yeah.
would you say a capsule wardrobe is kind of the key to that? And is there any other tips you have for someone to kind of have low energy, high impact, to make sure that they can still look good, but they don't have to spend so much time every day making a decision about what to put on?
Absolutely. A capsule wardrobe definitely, it definitely feeds into that. And I think I kind of want to define capsule wardrobe for maybe the listeners that don't
Yeah.
understand. So a capsule wardrobe is a wardrobe. It's usually a set of 8 to 14 different items, right? And they call it a capsule because it's kind of like a snapshot. These are your main, about 14, 15 items that you are continuously interchanging as you go throughout your week, month, season. These are items that you can easily mix and match and put together an outfit without a lot of brain power or brain energy, because it's not really that much um thought that goes into it, because everything goes together. It's a capsule, right? So with that, I would recommend for corporate leaders who want just a low energy solution, figure out a go-to look. A go-to look is also known as, what I call it, an outfit formula. This formula of an outfit will look good no matter where you're showing up, right? So,
Mm,
for example, one of my favorite outfit formulas for a business casual event is a blazer, a t-shirt, jeans, and a pointed toe heel.
love.
That is my jam, right? Very simple, and it sounds boring, but where the key goes into is, it may not be just a black blazer and blue pair of blue jeans and some pointed toe heels that you got at Macy's. No, we gonna style it up. My blazer is gonna be a pink silk. I'm gonna wear these gray jeans. I'm gonna wear maybe a Balmain shirt, as my designer piece. I'm gonna wear these statement pointed toe shoes that you can't figure out where I would have got it from, and I'm gonna add a little pop in, my purse or my handbag. So it's an outfit formula. It's still a blazer, a t-shirt, and a pair of jeans, but you are mixing it up, and that's your go-to look, and you're able to play around and be a little bit more bold with your selection, or a little bit more subtle depending upon your personal style. And you're not going to use a lot of brain power. What feels like you have to think of something new every time because, oh my God, it's another event. What am I going to wear? You stick to this one outfit formula, you're really making one decision. It's the, it's the
Yeah.
blazer, it's the t-shirt, and you just are going to choose a different blazer. You're going to choose a different shirt. You're going to look different every time, but you're only making one decision every time.
I love that. And I've heard other people talk about like a quote unquote work uniform, which is basically what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Like you always have the same uniform, you always have the same type of pieces on, but then you have
Mm-hmm.
different options. So I think that
Exactly.
can really help neurodivergent clients of like, okay, pick the formula that you feel comfortable in. Maybe it's a blazer, t shirt, and jeans, right?
Yeah.
And then each day, all you have to do is pick a t-shirt, so you have three that you pick from. Pick a blazer between your two and pick one of your favorite jeans, and then it's less of a decision making process. I think that can
Yes.
be super helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. In terms of like you as a brand
Mhm.
and you as a stylist, what would you say makes you unique, or a way, something that you do differently than like most other stylists or people in your industry?
So what makes me unique is the fact that a lot of stylists, they may focus on like the color wheel or the color scheme. I am big on style and empowerment and
Mm.
understanding your body type. I think a lot of stylists they may focus on the exterior, in the sense of what is it that may be trending, or what is it that you should have this fall to add to your wardrobe. I am more focused on who you are. I'm more focused on you shedding your light, on God's kingdom, and doing the work that he called you to do and what that looks like for you. I am more focused on making sure you feel good in your clothing, as opposed to what everybody else is saying looks good. And so I start with you. I'm starting with who this person is, and the statement, and the business, and the clients and the people that they serve. And I'm bringing that to their wardrobe and how they are showing up. Secondly, I focus on entrepreneurs for a reason. Um, it's really important, especially as an entrepreneur and especially as you're serving people, that you are not only tapped into yourself and the work and feeling fulfilled, but that you're sending the right message, and that you do have that brand consistency. And so with that, um, it's a marketing piece that I will couple, and that's where the image consulting comes into. But I'll couple the marketing piece into your wardrobe and assess the business and the brand as a whole. What has been working, what has not been working, how did you show up last time, and who is it that you do serve, and where is the misalignment within that. as opposed to just saying, oh my God, if you put on this outfit, you're going to look so great. Oh my God, this is trending. Let's, build your confidence with your word. I can't give you confidence. That has
Yeah.
to come from you. So it's a few things that I just take that different approach. But mine is more centered, focused, and a lot of spirituality that goes within that.
And that's why I asked the question, because I wanted you to share that, because I think you have such a unique approach
Mm.
to how you do it, which I think is so empowering. And I think, as we talked about before, it's really a vulnerable space for women to show up in, especially in
Mhm.
the workplace, to find their personal style, to trust someone to
Mhm.
help them. That I love that you take that more spiritual approach, empowerment approach. I
Mhm.
think that that's so incredibly helpful and supportive. And I know you've obviously helped so many people and will continue to. It's just like,
Yeah.
I just think it's so positive. That's why I was so,
Thank
that's why I really wanted to talk to you, because I just love your approach to everything.
thank you. I really received that.
Just a last question before
Yeah.
we go. I would just love to ask you what you're feeling lit up by or called to in this next season of your life and your career.
Well, I am feeling called to pour into the next generation, actually.
Mm,
And so that comes with expanding my empowerment message to the youth, especially young girls. So I'm, working on speaking to young girls ages 12 to about 18 or early 20s, helping them understand the importance of their style, the importance of first impressions. But not only that, understanding that they can believe and do whatever it is that they see in their minds, and that it does not have to be traditional. I think my story can be a point of reference, but inspiration to them. And that I didn't take the traditional route. Not that I never worked in corporate America. Of course, I definitely did, as I mentioned before. But it all started with something that I didn't even know existed. And so I want to pour into that next generation to open their minds and open their hearts to receive whatever it is that God has for them, and that He will make it a business and it will be profitable in Jesus' name. And so, with that, I do see myself working more with the community, and with young girls, especially those who look like me, but even those who don't. I do want them to know and understand who they are. The younger they get it, the more powerful they're going to be once they do reach our age and beyond.
I love that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, tell everyone where they can find you, how they can follow your work, how they can work with you, all of the things.
Absolutely. So you can find me on all platforms at Brandi Nicki. Um, Obviously, everything is spelled with an I. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of the above. You can find me, Brandi Nicki. You can go to my website as well, brandinicki.com.
Amazing. Well, Brandi Nicki, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I love
Absolutely.
this conversation. To everyone else, thanks for listening. Everything will be in the show notes, and have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye,
Absolutely. Thank you,
everyone.
Deanna.
Thank you.